And we're live. Welcome to the first episode of StoryFlow. I'm your host, Jamar John Johnson, the entrepreneur. This will be an exploration of the death of one's ego. You see, I have been speaking in front of large audiences for nearly 26 years now. And last night, June 7th, 2023, in Austin, Texas, I died the biggest ego death of my life. I've played to audiences of about 20,000 plus people, and I've played to some that were 2 people. And all the while, I was pursuing the idea of becoming the best comedian that I could be. But little did I know that the universe had other plans. You see, in 2009, while stationed in Monterey, California, pursuing comedy, I was driving up to Oakland, California to pick up an amazing woman who was a teacher for a date. Now, I had met her on OkCupid. Been online dating for a long time. And it was raining outside, and as a young lieutenant in the Navy, I was driving my BMW 335i, space gray with star chips, twin turbo inline engine, 2 exhaust pipes. I was feeling myself. I'll be honest with you. And so when I went to pick her up, shout out to Salome. When I went to pick her up, it was raining outside. So I picked her up at the front of a building with an umbrella like a true gentleman. And we were walking to the car. And as I was putting her into the car, I looked across the street to see a crowd of people standing in the rain. I said, "Hey, what are those people standing around for?" She goes, "Oh, Dave Chappelle just got back from Africa." I was like, "Word? We got to go see him." She goes, "Oh my God, the tickets are kind of expensive." I was like, "How much are the tickets, girl?" And she was like, $55. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Girl, I'm balling. I got this. We going in." Now, here's the thing. If you look at the tickets to see Dave Chappelle today, 55 would get you the nosebleed in a, 15,000 person arena. Shout out to Dave Chappelle, who is on his way back to Austin, Texas here in July on the 14th and the 15th, 2023. But back to my story. So I said, "Girl, I got us covered. Let's go." We go get in line. And because it was raining, about 8 to 10 people did not show up for their tickets, so they resold them. And here I was, about to see one of my comedic idols perform live. Now, this was the second show of 2 shows that day, and in fact, he was on a 16 or 17-day straight run of 2 shows a night, no opener, just him. And so the show was supposed to start at 10. They had the DJ playing. It wasn't until about 10:35 that he stepped foot on stage. People went crazy. I mean, the first 30 to 45 minutes was absolutely electric. People were yelling things out and just pure joy of seeing him and wondering where he had been. He was incredibly buff at this point. He was just swole. Dave Chappelle just looked like a different person. Still as talented as ever. He was handling everything like Neo in the Matrix, dodging bullets. And then about an hour and a half into the show, by this time it's almost midnight. My date's like, "Hey, listen, Jamal, I'm having fun, but I got to go to work in the morning. I'm a teacher." And I was like, "Listen, bless you." Gave her a kiss on her cheek, said, I'll talk to you later. Just text me when you get home so I know you made it. I'm like, "I'm not leaving this show." Now, at this point, it's probably good to mention to you that I'm about 4 years into my comedian career. I started in December 2005. And I'm a comedy nerd, I'll be honest with you. You know, I had designed my own comedy business card that you can still go see, actually, original design from like 2007, 2008-ish. Took it from a headshot that I had taken at the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California. And so on my card, I had my face like, hi. And I had my name, and then I had my website, and then I had what I did. Now, the reason why this is important to the story is because I was handing this comedy business card out to people before the show. I was networking, right? I was, OPP, other people's people. I was like, yo, these people love comedy. I love comedy. I love Dave. They love Dave. We might get along, right? So I'm making friends. And then, and then something truly amazing happened. So there was a couple up front, Hispanic couple. I think they were Mexican. They kept yelling, "Rick James, bitch!" And at an hour and a half, 2 hours into the show, Dave had enough. It was almost midnight. He's like, "All right, listen, you guys had too much to drink. Clearly, it's been fun, but y'all got to get the hell out of here. Security!" And he got them up out of here. And my date was now gone. There was a little white girl to my left who had one of my business cards before the show, and she says, she elbowed me very slightly. She goes, "Jamar, why don't we go sit up front? Those 2 seats are open." And I was like, "Girl, you trying to get us kicked out? Like, nah, just chill right where you are. Just chill, baby girl." But then I thought to myself, when am I ever going to get this close to Dave Chappelle again? I said, "You know what? Let's go." But I was smart. I said, "Little white girl, you go first, because Dave Chappelle ain't going to kick you out if he sees you." You know what I mean? So she started walking. I got behind her. I crouched a little bit to, lower my profile, because I'm 6'1", chiseled muscle, steel. She sits down first. I sit down second. So she's now to my right. Dave Chappelle is about 6.5, 7 feet away on stage, doing his thing, just ripping it, running it. It's amazing. 10 minutes later, the little white girl says, "Hey, Jamar, why don't you give Dave Chappelle your business card so he knows you're a comedian, and maybe he'll take you on tour with him." And I was like, yo, how naive of this girl. She's so cute. I was like, that's not how this game works. Just chill, just relax where you are. That's not how it's going down. But then a minute or two later, I thought to myself, but she's right. Like, take a risk, live a little, So what I did was I took my comedy business card and I put it face up on the stage. And it must have been, it felt like 20 or 30 minutes, but it might have been 10 or 15. Not exactly sure. Within moments, Dave picked up my comedy business card. And he looked around and he said, "Whose card is this?" "Oh, it is your card." And then he read it out loud. Yeah, there it is. But there was one thing that he said that it kept standing out to me. When somebody you look up to says something, even, any words of encouragement, you believe it more than someone else, right? Even though they have no reason, they don't know you, they don't know what you're capable of. For some reason, it sticks with you. It's like if Michael Jordan said, "You're going to be somebody one day." Like, I feel like that kid, he maxed his potential in whatever he did. And Dave Chappelle said I was going to make $1 billion. Now, I'll be honest with you, like, the idea of $1 billion is not something that even remotely is something that I think is logical to even shoot for. Some people are, my ex-girlfriend included, right? 2 exes ago, she wants to be a billionaire, and I don't get it because I'm I'm an artist, but I'm also an entrepreneur, and I've been that my whole life. And so, on my comedy business card, it says comedian, writer, singer, artist, handyman, which was the punchline, which Dave got, which he was like, yo, this is the most hilarious business card I've ever seen, as you heard. But what that did for me is it solidified to me that, you know what? It's okay to be great at business. Permission granted. And years later, just ruminating on that idea and just, figuring out, when I left the military, how to pursue business, I got fascinated with that as much as I did my comedy, as much as I did any other art that I've ever pursued. And I came up with the entrepreneur. And when people read it, it's a made-up word, clearly. It's entrepreneur and comedian. Entrepreneur. And if you look it up on Urban Dictionary, it is an entrepreneur who realized at the core of his or her business, using humor as a tool to super connect is the way that you differentiate yourself in the marketplace. Now, here's the thing. I've got the science on this. Using humor for your business, using humor as a speaker, using humor to communicate, using humor to network, using humor to teach, to edutain, to educate, and entertain all in one. Using humor is a superpower. And so last night, June 7th, 2023, my desire to pursue comedy, as most of us know it to be, died on stage. Because what I realized was the thing that I found out years later about that night, that magical night that I saw Dave Chappelle and he read my comedy business card out loud on stage. The thing that I realized was that Dave Chappelle owned that building that he came and performed 16 straight nights, 2 shows a night, sold out. He harnessed his craft. And you see, most comedians do not get to train the way they actually fight. The way they train is at something called the open mic. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some open mics that are still what they once were because the demand is there. Because they're, like, for example, at Joe Rogan's club, the Comedy Mothership, right? I've attended a couple of the open mics because people just want to be in this new club, because Joe Rogan has so much pull and gravitas, right? The open mic is an actual show for which they select 16 people at random, wink, wink, to perform on the open mic. And so there might be a line of 60, 80, 100 people, and 16 get chosen, get randomly selected or not, whatever. But there's a real audience there. And so you get to actually train the way you would fight. And so your adrenaline's going, you're pumped, you're animated, you're ready, right? But most of the other open mics all around town in Austin and Los Angeles and New York's a little bit different. They're just filled with other comedians. They're just filled with people who really don't care about your material, are not paying attention, are not there to be supportive, are not there to laugh. They're just there to wait for their turn, get up, go up, and leave. Now, I found plenty of workarounds around it. Over the past decade since I've left the military, I have harness my skills in other ways using other various hacks and stuff, but it was still to pursue comedy as it's known. And what I realized last night on stage at this newer club called Roscoe's, great club, by the way. I think they're going to do some incredible things for the Austin scene. But I realized that night that I no longer had the focus of comedy on my mind. I got this concept I call truth, love, and comedy. And it's hard for me to determine which amount I want to deliver on any given night anymore. Because I feel like there's so much truth being hidden, there's so much truth being ignored, that if I don't take part in the crusade to help free people from their demons, from the dungeons, from the chains, I honestly feel like a day worker. I feel like a free man, and the world is like I Am Legend. The world is empty because everyone is just on the clock, rat race, running around, not paying attention to anything that's happening with the state of the country that we live in, the United States of America. Now, I'm a veteran of the military. I've traveled around the world. I've lived in Japan for 3 years, been to Hong Kong, Singapore, Guam, Costa Blues, Saipan, Vietnam. And listen, stand-up comedy, just like jazz music, like rock and roll, like hip-hop music, is American-made. But I need to do something different now. I've been pursuing comedy for 18 years, and something else is calling me to a higher level. Not a better level, just a more impactful level. I think comedy is important. I think humor is important. People need to laugh. I think laughter is the best medicine. But I think people also need to know that they're not alone in their struggles and their pain and their suffering. And I think that people need to learn new ways to evolve, new ways to be creative. And I think everyone could benefit from learning how to tell a story. Because you see, before stand-up, before theater, before television, before acting, before all of these things, human beings told stories. In fact, if you think about it, the written word has only been around for about 3,000 years. We've been drawing on caves for like 27,000 years. Storytelling has been around for over 100,000 years. That is how information got transferred. That is why podcasting is the breakthrough technology that is reconnecting people to some semblance of the truth. And so that's what this podcast will be exploring. StoryFlow will be connected to the real world, telling you about the experiences and stories that I am experiencing as I pursue this thing, this one-of-one thing called an entrepreneur. I believe that business and art can coexist as one and be both an art and a science of self-discovery and artistry and a mastery of life, of living, of learning, of loving, of teaching, of growing, of sharing, of abundance. You see, there's so many things that I have wanted to say and talk about on stage over the years, but the confines of comedy made it so that it had to always end up funny. And sometimes shit ain't funny. Sometimes shit just needs to get real. And yes, being able to turn anything into something that is funny is possible. I believe that. I know it to be true. There are a lot of things that I can laugh at that are dark. But I want to embrace the darkness and the light all in one. I don't want to end up like Robin Williams. I don't want to end up like one of the 22 veterans that commit suicide every day in America. I don't want to suppress any side of me anymore. Sometimes I'm happy and sometimes I'm sad. I want to be able to show up as is and just be real. Now listen, there may not be a market for that. This is true. In which case, I'll just continue to build my media company. I've got a course on LinkedIn right now that's trained over 17,000 people, and the demand is high there. The digital education space is slated to be a $600 to $700 billion marketplace by 2025. I'm just going to go get my little sliver of that pie. I'll be okay. But in the process, in the meantime, I want to play a game of freeze tag where I help people unlock their own self with the help of a light of another. I want to be that light bearer for those who can't be it for themselves. And so for The 30, 40, 50 of you in my network who couldn't make it to the show tonight, this episode's for you. Thank you for not being able to, because it forced me into an uncomfortable place where I was able to perform last night for about an hour in total between hosting and emceeing and then doing some time at the end of the show. I was able to just let the comedians that are pursuing that do what they do, and I did what I did. And it was painful to not have the guardrails of the years of material that I've built up. I literally brought my entire bag of jokes that I've got like 4 or 5 notebooks, 7, 8 folders, 2 binders. I brought the whole bag with me because I was ready to let it die up there on stage. I wanted to go where the muse took me that night. And it was glorious. I know I asked some people how, I apologized to people after the show for not giving them my standard act. And they were like, man, that was amazing. They were like, that's my kind of comedy. That's what I love. And I was like, really? Wow. Because I felt bad up there. I felt like I was dying the death of 1,000 men. But you know what? That was the first time that I let myself truly be free. That was the first time that I let myself truly be free to just feel and just be in flow. And I realized that just, telling stories, sprinkling a little bit of laughter where appropriate, that's the lane that I think I can thrive in. Now listen, storytelling's been around forever. Stories not only sell, stories can teach, stories can transform. And I want to do my part. I want to help to transform. And listen, I saw Dave Chappelle, 2021 in at the MGM with Rogan. And it was an incredible show. I laughed my ass off. I had a great time. Floor seats were like $1,000 a piece. Worth every penny. You're not going to take all the money with you. And listen, as much as they inflate the money, the answer is for you to learn how to get more of this inflated money, because the value of it is becoming less and less and less. And see, that's the thing. I want to be able to explore these real topics. And listen, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be murky and muddy. But I know that it's about the repetition. And so I'm not looking to build my own comedy club. I'm building my own institute, the TLC Institute. Truth, Love, and Comedy. Tender Love and Care. Where StoryFlow will take place. And StoryFlow will take place on the road. Story is, to me, the most powerful vehicle for transformation out there. And I think comedy is up there. To me, it's one of the hardest art forms. I'll still do some comedy shows, right? But I got to do it renewed. And when I look at the greats, people that I truly look up to and admire, like Richard Pryor, for example, he went through a phase where he transformed himself from being this Cosby replica, and then he became himself. Everybody's going to find their voice and, what they can live with, what they can sleep at night with on their own time. I want that for each and every one of you. I truly, truly do. I found a way to let resistance and procrastination hold me back all day long today. But I had some good conversations with some close friends of mine. I got some incredible content that I'm going to clip together. And now the real game begins. The game to explore what the market really wants. So tell me what you want, what you really, really want. If you want to be my lover. Yeah. Gonna be a lot more of this to come. This feels good. This feels freeing. This feels like life. I wonder, will it take me under? If I rule the world, I love them, baby. I free all my sons. Hey, hey, black diamonds and pearls. Have you ever wondered why Lauryn Hill never made another album? Because these businesses cold-blooded. This business is cold-blooded out here, y'all. And if you don't know business, then you don't make sense. And if it don't make sense, then it makes no sense. And so you need recompense so you can change your course and make sure that you got more than just a horse, because you need horsepower to climb up the mountain. You need the peaks and the valleys so you don't end up speaking Chinese. Oh, my God. I love me today. Do you love you some you? So important, that self-love. Because through all of the painful things that I've been through, the death of my ego last night, I found out in the end was the least painful and the most freeing. There's a really great book I'm going to leave you with by Ernest Becker called The Denial of Death. The reality is none of us know when our number is going to be called. So decide if you're going to live your life to the fullest and to the max. Or just be an NPC. I am Jamar.com, and this has been StoryFlow, Ego Death Edition. I love you. Thanks for listening. Please leave some feedback, leave a comment, subscribe, like this video for the algorithm. And if you listen to this on any of the major podcast platforms, please leave a review, as maybe this will help someone else get the unlock code and start pursuing freedom in their life. Peace, love, and prosperity. I'll see you at the next episode. Deuces.